Happy New Year from a new place in the world, Auckland, New Zealand. This week is the first of transitioning away from the research, preparation, and deep thinking of the past several months into actual creation. We will hear the story of Peter Jackson, beloved son of New Zealand and legendary creative who chose to build legacy right where he was already rooted. Welcome to Beyond the Template. Hello all. I'm Caroline Amelie LeBeouf, and I'm thrilled to be connecting with you all again this week after an amazing holiday hiatus, the turning from one year into another, and a journey to the other side of the world. Welcome to Beyond the Template. If you have been following along, you know this podcast is a work in progress this first season, and I'm grateful for you for joining in week after week. So far, this podcast has embodied well-established design principles, and we have learned together how iterative a new creative project can be in the research, planning, deep thinking, and preparation stages. But it's time to get messy together. So number one, traveling and recording this podcast is tricky, if only because I want to be in the present moment, and it's very hard to do social media at the same time as you're actually living your life. So I think this is going to be posted a day later than anticipated. Number two, I need to just talk. I need to sip my coffee, hang out with you all, be a real person. So on the other side of the world, so many things have happened. I feel differently. I'm outside more than I ever have been in my life. I'm even walking around with an umbrella because the sun is pretty hot during the summer, and I'm not even in Australia yet, so I can only imagine. But it is really hard to sit down and sort of go into the details right now when everything feels so big and expansive and open. It feels kind of at odds with everything. But once I did actually sit down and write today's podcast, I learned some new things, and I hope you will too. So I'm going to get back into it. But I am going to be sipping my coffee because I really just need to hang out with you all. I'm not in a closet. I'm sure the sound quality is going to be not as great. I used to be inside of a closet, trying for perfection, not breathing, not drinking water. We talked about voiceover for a little bit. It really is hard to try to do perfection. I think we should give those people a lot of credit because it feels like it could be an easy job, but it absolutely is not. All right, taking my first sip of coffee in the morning. Oh, awesome. Okay, so I did write today's episode with a beautiful chocolate lab by my feet, listening to a 3-generation household conversation waft through the open windows from next door, from baby to grandparent, and watching passersby on the sidewalk outside. I live in a neighborhood right now where the street outside is very active. People are outside, rain or shine, it does not matter, in all different walks of life, pun intended. It is a beautiful day today with a high of 25 degrees Celsius. Not to risk sounding like a like a news anchor. Puffy clouds were when I was writing this, were lazily tracing the skies. Lots of beautiful winds blowing through the house. They don't have the AC on, and they call it aircon here. Warm Pacific winds. The Pacific Ocean, I think I might like it more than the Atlantic. I have to be honest. It feels very, very different. So right now I'm in a place called Blockhouse Bay, a suburb on the outskirts of Auckland, which is in the northern part of the North Island of New Zealand. From my present home where I'm staying, I have been able to walk to the shores here to see the ocean. And that's something I have never experienced in my life, not even when I lived in the beach city of Charleston, South Carolina, USA. To be able to walk to the ocean is something very special, and I don't take it for granted. I can't believe it's January. Typically, January and February are my least favorite months of the year. The peak of the holidays always leaves me feeling a hole in my gut, and there isn't anything to fill it during the dreary, cold, gray, rainy days in the southern United States. Even when I lived in the mountains where I got snow once in a while, somehow I never felt the magic that I should have, because it was quick to turn into sleet or black ice or just plain slosh. So if this is what you're experiencing right now as you listen to this, I hope you're taking good care of yourself. I mentioned seasonal affective disorder before, and I know these months are usually the worst, since at this point winter has stayed for some time. And I hope you're keeping yourself warm and getting as much sunlight or firelight or even SADS light, they make those, as possible, and making sure that you're finding ways to bring in as much comfort and rest into your days as well. Auckland is an incredibly diverse place, and I found myself eating predominantly East Asian cuisine, which I'm thrilled about, and heavily vegetarian. That, and I have been eating the hand pies. I've tried multiple different types of hand pies, and they do, there's a heavy Indian influence, like I said, East Asian countries, and also India. So I had a buttered chicken hand pie, which was delicious. I've tried multiple different brands. I did have a bakery that was right up the street from me that I've walked to several times. Hand pies and sweet treats, and I even tried a sausage roll, which I think is really just, for the US people listening, meatloaf in puff pastry. And who's going to be angry about that? Nobody. It did not come across as sausagey to me, but maybe the sausage is the fact that it's meat mixed with a bunch of different things. So anyway, I've tried lots of things. That bakery was fantastic. It was called Levain, if you want to look it up. And yeah, it was delicious. It's also summertime, so kids are out of school right now entirely. Can you imagine, like, your summer being Christmas and New Year's? Again, this is for people in the States. But yeah, people are just out. It's very outdoor, let's all be outside. But yeah, this trip has been pretty eye-opening. I'm seeing myself in the mirror differently. I'm sleeping better than I ever have before. I'm prioritizing my days differently, and my mind has expanded to see some possibilities for both me personally and professionally. And one such new possibility, dear listeners, now brings me to an honest moment with you. Learning and development has gotten me here, and I do think understanding best practices in design is helpful for any creative. But I think I've been approaching this podcast all wrong. What I've been trying to do is share with you all how to reach your dreams. But the reality is I think I've just been adding more noise to the space where you might feel you already aren't cutting it or doing enough or meeting a certain standard or expectation. And I love living in the world of structure and strategy. But for you, well, what you're doing and how you're doing it is perfect just as it is. And my purpose in partnership is to hold space in a way that you can thrive in, rather than serve to undermine your natural inclinations, rhythms, and patterns. This realization is going to pivot my business hard this year. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but I'm hoping that the remainder of this season lands in a way that feels aligned with my listeners. My expanders of the week will also now be less biographical and more focused in a way for you to see yourselves in the most incredibly creative and innovative minds in our time and throughout history. Once again, for you to see yourselves in them. Before, I was hoping to inspire by telling the stories of these individuals, but I think it fell flat as lecture versus anecdote. Since I'm in New Zealand, and will be for the next month, our first newly formatted expander of the week is someone the entire world might know about at this point, but if you saw him here in his own country, you might not notice, as no one would stare or ask him for selfies or go up to him and ask for an autograph. New Zealand has a way of keeping everyone on the same level. Celebrity isn't revered here, and Peter Jackson, at least here, is no exception to the tall poppy rule. Peter Jackson did not arrive in cinema through privilege, polish, or pedigree. There was no red carpet rolled out for him in his early days, no elite film schools, no family lineage in the arts, no quiet confidence that the world would make room for his imagination. He received instead a childhood growing up in Pukerua Bay, a small coastal town north of Wellington, where the Pacific Ocean crashes against rock with a kind of persistent stubbornness. This was the kind of place where you learn early how to entertain yourself, where imagination blends seamlessly into the hours of the day. Jackson was an only child in quiet. He was observant and questioning, a deep thinker, the kind of kid who disappears into his inner world not because he's escaping reality, but because reality hasn't caught up to him yet. At age 8, he saw King Kong on television, and that was it. Jackson became obsessed, maybe even possessed. His passion was not a gentle spark. His mind went ablaze. He would later describe that moment not as inspiration, but as recognition. Jackson said that the film had a profound effect on him and described its titular ape as a very special little chap who captured his heart. Something in his brain locked into place. This was not about wanting to be famous. This was not about money. This was not even about storytelling in the conventional sense. It was about world building. From that point forward, Jackson did not consume movies passively. He dissected them. He rewound scenes until the tape wore thin. He wanted to know how the illusion worked, how sound, camera, movement, and timing could conspire to create belief. When he was 12, he even made a rubber Kong and cardboard model of the Empire State Building and tried to animate it using his parents' Super 8 camera. Most kids would film family holidays. Peter Jackson began making his own monster movies. His first projects were crude, bloody, absurd. They were messy and perfect for where he was in his process. And they were the workings of someone not just exploring a new creative path, but cutting through one of their own. He built models out of scrap materials, shot scenes in his backyard and garage. He edited obsessively. Jackson was learning stop motion through trial and error. He taught himself everything because there was no one around to teach him. And he didn't grow up surrounded by collaborators. Instead, he grew up to learn the value of them and to make room for them. By his late teens, he was working as a photo engraver in Wellington by day and filming at night. And this was hard, exhausting. Jackson wasn't experiencing a romantic idea of the creative process. His forward momentum was due to creative hunger at odds with his economic reality. And I'm sure all of us can feel that one, right? You would think by the time Jackson was an adult, after working on filmmaking for decades prior to his early feature films, they would have been deemed by film critics as respectable. But no. They were splatter films, gore-soaked, grotesque, deliberately offensive. The first film that he made was actually called Bad Taste, which is hilarious. 1987, and I will have a link for you if you would like to watch the trailer. The second film, his feature film, was called Meet the Feebles, which I'm not even gonna describe it to you. I want you to go ahead and watch that trailer as well. Both links are going to be in the description for you this week. These films could not have said more loudly, "I don't belong to your polite cinematic world." And yet, even inside those very first film attempts was something unmistakable. Technical audacity, precision, rhythm, a brain that understood sequencing, pacing, escalation, a mind that could hold dozens of moving parts simultaneously. So what did critics say? Destined to stand as an unfortunate footnote to Mr. Jackson's career. New York Times critic Janet Maslin. But Peter Jackson was not making trash. These weren't footnotes. He was still learning, pivoting, growing, and expanding in his craft. He was training himself. Every absurd practical effect was a rehearsal. Every outrageous scene was a systems test. Everything deemed, quote-unquote, a failure by critics taught Jackson how collaboration actually works when resources are scarce. Because Jackson didn't evolve by maintaining a lone genius status. He began to accelerate only after building creative ecosystems, the most important of these being with Fran Walsh. Walsh was not a sidekick, not a muse, not a supportive partner standing politely in the background. She was a writer, a thinker, a structural mind. And together they balanced each other. Where Jackson was visually obsessive and technically daring, Walsh brought emotional grounding, narrative coherence, and thematic depth. Later, Philippa Bowens would join them, completing what would become one of the most effective collaborative writing partnerships in modern cinema. 3 minds, 3 sensibilities, 1 shared vision. This first established network of collaborative creativity was more than incidental. It was foundational for Jackson's most epic achievements. When Jackson pivoted from being a cult filmmaker to a quote-unquote serious director with Heavenly Creatures, it was Walsh's emotional intelligence and psychological insight that anchored the story. The film explored obsession, fantasy, violence, and intimacy with a maturity that surprised critics who had already written Jackson off. But then, 30 years after he received his first camera, came Lord of the Rings. LOTR has created a sort of myth around Peter Jackson. Many don't know the honest truth about who he was, where he started, and even where he was going before his collaborators elevated his genius to worldwide renowned heights. People simply see him as visionary director, impossible dream, one man brings Middle-earth to life. And that story is so obviously incomplete at best. What actually happened was this. Jackson didn't leave New Zealand, even when people were pressuring him to go to Hollywood to become legitimate. He stayed, built and partnered right where he was, and there he expanded further. So Weta Workshop and Weta Digital were not accidents for him. They were intentional responses to limitation. If Hollywood would not give him the tools, Jackson simply decided that he would create them. And if the industry could not trust the local New Zealand talent, he would train it. Hundreds of artists, technicians, designers, engineers, and craftspeople moved through Weta with Jackson. It should be no surprise that Middle-earth was actually not built by one man, but instead was built by a community. So Jackson's genius was not just imagination, it was also aligned with infrastructure thinking. He understood that creativity at any scale requires balanced systems, which held skills and talent not one person can hold. If he had attempted to move forward with his vision without the partnerships in place, that vision would have collapsed under its own weight. Jackson knew that the future of his art and that of New Zealand was not meant to be centered around his own individual brilliance, but instead scaffolded with the coordinated intelligences of many. During the filming of The Lord of the Rings, Jackson lived in Wellington. He worked in Miramar, which is a neighborhood or borough within the city. Jackson set up an office in an old home right in the center, near the same streets where Weta buzzed day and night. Jackson was not a distant executive director from afar. He was dedicated, present, but even more so embedded. If LOTR production was an organism, Jackson allowed himself to be one part of it. Neurologically, Jackson displayed early on the traits often associated with divergent thinking: deep pattern recognition, intense focus, nonlinear problem solving, and an unusual tolerance for complexity. But he's both exceptional in how differently he thinks and how generously he thinks. True geniuses know how to delegate, trust, listen, and understand that the people that they surround themselves with make all the difference. That, and they know how to create environments where others can do their best. Creativity, therefore, can and should be symbiotic. He once said, "The key to making a good movie is surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you." It might sound like false humility to some, but I see that as a strategy. When the LOTR films succeeded, and then again when they became cultural landmarks, Jackson didn't stop there. Instead, he reinvested in his community once again to mentor, hire more locals, and expand Weta further into farther-reaching projects. Through his career, Jackson ended up proving something somewhat radical in the industry. The best creative work might come from building capacity where you are. And the lesson of Peter Jackson's story is not dream bigger. I have a feeling that your dreams are already quite large in your hearts. The lesson we should all take from Jackson is stop trying to carry your entire dream alone. Jackson could have burned out a dozen times over. The pressure alone was enough to break most people. Instead, he distributed the load. Smart. Creative partnership did not result in a compromise for him. He was able to manifest his dream fully. Partnerships and collaborations unlocked the gates, and Jackson led the way through. Peter Jackson did not become less of a creator when he partnered. He became more precise, more ambitious, and more sustainable. His part as creator ended up being more about the making space for the stories, people, and innate meaning for the work. Which brings us back to you. Are you in the midst of the quiet exhaustion of doing everything yourself? Has your work reached a threshold that you alone can't quite cross? Sure, you could do it all alone. And yes, maybe sharing the load of your vision, your brainchild, the project that feels like it's like a part of you, the extension of yourself as creation, feels really, really scary. It might even feel like failure. Sharing is intimate. Trusting someone to help you see your vision through with you is even scarier. But what if you not only no longer need to do everything yourself, but your vision expands because of partnership or collaboration? What if there's another way to grow? I didn't mean to, but I attended Auckland's Weta Workshop Unleashed on my first day in New Zealand without even knowing it was tied to Peter Jackson. I like opening up Google Maps and zooming in to see landmarks and then reading reviews. So that's why I ended up going. I had an early flight come in, and then I could not get into my Airbnb until like 8 hours later. So I had to figure out what to do. And I ended up doing the art museum and Weta. So immediately was doing creativity. And if that doesn't say who I am to you guys and why I do this podcast, I don't know what does. After visiting Weta, my review on Google Maps got hundreds of views, which I'm a little proud of. The last time I was that happy while doing Weta was when I went to Seattle, Washington's Pop Culture Museum. Their exhibits were phenomenal, but this was immersive and intimate as it connects to one production company. And now I know it was Peter Jackson who pulled it together for his own purposes. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm having a blast making Beyond the Template. Please make sure to spread the word for anyone you think would have fun with us. Before I leave you this week, let's engage in conversation. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear about you. Send me Expander of the Week suggestions, and let me know what was your main takeaway from this week's episode. What projects are you working on right now? What are you struggling with as a creator these days? You can add anything you would like to share in the comments section or email me directly at ceamelieleboeuf@gmail.com. This will be in the description for you. No one monitors this email but me, so I welcome your thoughts, and I would love to address them with anonymity in future episodes. Let's grow this community of creatives and innovators together. Thank you for joining me today for Beyond the Template. Keep it up, keep it creative. I created my business because more and more non-linear thinking creatives and innovators are arriving in this world, and I want to serve as their partner. I'm not here to be a consultant or a coach. I don't just give advice. I stay by your side to the end with empathy, understanding, and grounding presence. If this sounds like an exciting possibility, or let's be honest, a weight off your shoulders, please reach out to me for a free chat about your project, your goals, and your dreams. He received instead a childhood growing up in Pukurua Bay, a small coastal, see, I was trying so hard to pronounce that word correctly. I forgot how to pronounce English words. I cracked myself up. Oh my gosh. Let's start again. More coffee for me, apparently. Follow your dreams when my dream's crazy. I was swimming alone with something under me. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Was there treading a pool where blue in the deep. Ooh. Follow your dreams, but my dream's crazy. I was flying atop rows of orchard trees. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Waited low on the ground, grasping air to flee. Ooh. When the air is thick and the road is long, it's easy to forget how to sing your song. But dreaming can only get you so far. With dust in your eyes, not knowing where to start. Follow your dreams, move through precision. Use that song in your heart for each intention. Follow your dreams, thoughts true, attempted. Your creation exists just beyond the template.